Welcome to Craig Back Show.
No, like obviously, see.
Sweet.
Okay, you guys, welcome to the Katie Black Show. This is season 6. I'm with my friend Emma Rose, and I just asked her before we hit record that we follow each other on social media, and I know that you go by Red March, and so I was wondering, is that a nickname? Which one do you prefer?
Oh, I guess, between friends, as we have become from our meeting that one time, it's not hard to do with you. I'm excited to be here.
I know we just jump right in.
Yes, I'm actually wearing a Red March shirt right now.
Okay.
And Red March came up a few years ago when I was still heavily a librarian, and it felt at that time it felt a lot like I was living a double life. Mm-hmm. When I was doing stand-up on my days off, and I was just very much artsy and out there and a crazy partier at that time too. And then I would clean up and I'd go to the library, and so I needed there to be another name at that point, and so I would go by Red or Red March, which is from kind of a play off of my favorite band, which is a little embarrassing, but Blue October.
Okay.
And so I just thought, like, they're way too important to me. I was going to bring them up at some point. I think I bring them up in every conversation. It's awful.
What up? Shout out.
Yeah, that's right. Justin, I love you. Okay. but I know Emma's good, or Emma Rose, or Amber, or Emily. I really am not picky.
By the way, is Emma Rose your God-given name? Because that sounds like a celebrity already.
Oh, yay! Yeah, it's my mom-given name. Yes, my dad's last name was Rose. I guess how people's names are, as you see. And then my first name is Emma. And you'd think at this point I'd have a better way of explaining it by now, because I get that question all the time. And I never know what to say when people ask me what my name is. Sometimes I'll say Emma, and sometimes I'll say Emma Rose. And so I've gone whole classes where people only call me Emma Rose.
I love that.
And then a year later, I'm like, oh, it's different, but that's fine. And I know a few Emma Roses. It's either that's their first name or that's their first and middle name, which is kind of crazy, but
very cool. Well, some background. I met Emma, gosh, time evades me. Has it been a month since we connected?
Oh my gosh, I think it's been a month and 2 days.
Wow. So I met Emma basically at a red carpet event. Shout out the Reggie film.
Yeah. Such a fun night. Oh my goodness.
In Salisbury. And so I found out that you are actually from Salisbury.
Yes. Yeah. I was born in the Concord area, so not far from Charlotte.
Uh-huh.
At home in a trailer. And then I Rose Hospital, as I like to call it. And then we kind of popped around a little bit growing up to Alabama, to Illinois. But for the most part, I was in and around Salisbury. And I call it home. I call it my hometown.
Well, no matter who I'm interviewing, I always want to know where they grew up and what was the vibe. So what was the vibe of where you grew up?
Well, I've moved almost every year since I was born.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and some years multiple times. Actually, I lived in Chicago recently for about a year and 2 months, and that was the longest I lived anywhere. And now I just live a little outside the city.
Okay.
So I'm not far from Chicago by any means, but it was nice during the lockdown to not be in a big city.
Uh-huh.
So that's good.
Very interesting. So do you consider, I know you said you kind of bopped around, or do you feel like you're Southern? Are you Midwest? What vibe?
I think, and I've tried to figure this out, I feel like the more someone gets to know me, the more I get to know me, I'm realizing that I am not one person. I feel like sometimes it's the easiest to be what I think people expect me to be, which is just kind of like goofy and ditzy and just kind of an oddball. But I mean, I've actually gotten this habit over the past year of dressing as characters in my day-to-day life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like softcore cosplay. Like one day I'll dress up and I'll be like, I'm a waiter that just got off work and I'm very tired. Or like I'll dress up and be like, my name's Tony Miami. That's what I was the other day, all day. Yeah, whole backstory by the end of the day. It just starts with an odd choice of outfit together. Like today I'm a cowboy and I am in a very good mood or something. I don't know.
I love that.
Yeah, so I love improv. And so I feel like I do it way too much in my day to day. I'm constantly trying out characters on strangers, and
I think that's awesome though. I think that's awesome. And I think too, like, I'm not an actor, even though my sister's like, please join theater. Please get it out of the system. I know. Well, I did it in high school, and I don't think I really realized how much I enjoyed it. But I basically was trying to say, I feel like a lot of people, even if they're not actors, I feel like everyone is kind of acting and improving off the cusp, right?
Absolutely. And code switching. I find myself code switching all the time.
Wait, what's that mean?
Oh, code switching. It's like it's almost like you have like perceived notions of what a situation requires of you to be, and then you kind of code switch to that. Like, say if I'm talking to my friend Sprinkle, who lives in Salisbury, I'd be like, hey Sprinkle, what's going on? Oh my god, you guys go crazy, it's so weird. And then if I'm talking, like if I'm in an interview, I'm gonna be like, libraries are my life. They're beautiful and God-given, and everyone should work at a library and stuff like that. So it's like, it's interesting. And I've actually found myself slipping into Midwest quite a bit lately, and it takes me off guard. Sometimes in one sentence, I feel like I'll run the gambit and I'll be like, y'all talk to Uncle Porky because I think his dog done died, and he better put it in a bag because, and that one drives me crazy. Bag. I'm over it though.
That's hilarious. I've always tried to get a vibe of like what the Midwest is, but like, I mean, I guess it's fair to say I haven't lived there, but I have, met people that are from there, and I'm like, I know, like, I don't know, I guess I know what like California, West Coast, Seattle, I know what like New York, Boston, I know like Southern Florida, which is its own entity, but I've never been able to put my finger on like Midwest vibes. Obviously, you can tell I love to say vibes.
Oh, me too. Oh my gosh, yes. It's the best way to describe anything now. I'm like, we'll just replace all the other words with vibes. We'll just vibe all the other vibes with vibes now. It's all vibes.
Well, when I talked to you briefly, I think it was called the Fishbowl. Shout out.
Yes, that's right. Shout out to the Fishbowl. I've ruined many of my days there.
This just came to me. Do you know Adam Shepard, I believe?
Oh my gosh, probably.
Okay, I don't know. That just came to me because he says that he's like the mayor of Salisbury.
Oh, he's the mayor?
Well, I don't know.
He was?
Like mentally, I think.
Oh, like he believes he's the mayor of Salisbury? Yeah. Oh, does he go by any nicknames other than the mayor of Salisbury? Because I don't know if you know this about Salisbury, but every townie has a nickname, and I'm afraid to repeat any of them right now.
Right.
But yeah, but I'm going to. It's like Peach and Blue and Burnside, and like they all have the weirdest names. Actually, some of those are just last names, but still, nobody goes by normal names. I had a friend named Pickles for a while. I mean, so it's like you don't actually know people's names that are townies, I feel like.
Right.
In small towns sometimes. Okay. It's like, oh, there's Lizard Boy or whatever. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that. Shout out Adam or #mayor. What's up?
Yes.
Okay, so like I said, I low-key stalked you. So you have an awesome resume. I guess first off, how did you get into like theater / acting? Like, how did that happen?
Oh my goodness. And actually, it's funny. It happened real late for me because with the moving around and stuff, we really weren't in school either. By we, I mean me. I mean, my siblings weren't really for the most part either, but it was very different, like experiences between us. So I was homeschooled a lot growing up, and then so I wasn't really I was so shy. I didn't talk to anyone and I stuttered like a son of a gun. So it just like kept me from talking too much. And then I started working at the library when I was 16 and got my master's when I was 23. And I was like, I'm just going to be a librarian. And that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to be very quiet because this is where I don't have to speak very loud. Right. And then when I was 25, a fellow, like a coworker, a librarian at the library, had written an adaptation of Pride and Prejudice. And she wanted me to be in it. And she was like, just come audition. And so I was going to audition for one of the other, lesser roles. But then I remember writing it real small. I wrote like Elizabeth. And then I had my hand in the trash can, like throwing away the sign-in sheet because I was way too nervous. I was like sweating and shaking and I couldn't even imagine really doing it, but I loved to like entertain people since I was a kid. If I could get the words out to do it, And so I auditioned and I got the lead, and I was like 25 at this point. Like this was just like 4 years ago, which seems crazy from then to now what has transpired. But so I got the lead in that and it changed my life. The camaraderie, learning lines, rehearsing, blocking, the schedule of it. We actually, for that one, we had to do, we didn't have to, but I took like a dance class so that we could learn how to dance in the day, like blah, da, da, dee, da, da. And I had to sing on stage and mime playing the piano. It was like, for a first role, it was pretty intense. But I wouldn't change absolutely a single thing. And pretty much since then, I've just been craving it and trying to like anything I can to be able to perform more. I love it. It's so fun. And be around performers. That's like almost like on the same level for me, like performing and then being able to like be in the presence of other like talented performers who are enthusiastic. It's wonderful.
That was one of my favorite books in high school, Pride and Prejudice.
Oh, it's so good. And this was kind of a comedic play on it too. It was so fun. And it was interesting because it was actually a theater in the round. So our stage had audience on 3 sides. And we were basically on stage the entire show. But whenever we weren't in whatever scene was going on at the time, we were sitting on these really pretty ornate benches that looked like they were in a park, in like towards the back of the stage, and reading Pride and Prejudice, like each of the characters. It was such a cute like way of doing it too, and it took a lot out of us, but it put so much into us.
Right.
I don't know.
No, I get that. Well, I'm like a weird creature of just like studies of like different topics, and so like being an actor, how do you not I guess, like, how do you not later, once the role is ended, like, absorb those characteristics permanently?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I don't know. I don't think I don't. Like, I think I do. And that was the most interesting thing I think about. I mean, I keep going back to Pride and Prejudice, but it was, like, my first thing, and it was, like, the debut, and it was so funny because the character of Elizabeth, of like Lizzie Bennet, is such a strong character, like a female in the day and age that it's set. She's just like, no, I'm not going to marry you. You're annoying and you suck. And this guy's kind of an asshole, but I think I can keep him in line and I'm into him. And it's like, she's just very straightforward and like funny and strong-willed and like a lot of the things that I never felt like I was. And so like being that character, even to begin with, I think was such a huge help also to get me to like the confidence level I needed to keep going.
Okay, so also you do like stand-up, you're a stand-up comedian.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because I moved up here to Illinois and I got on an open mic within like 3 weeks of moving up here, and crashed and burned really hard in like an epic way because I managed to pick the notoriously the meanest open mic in Chicago. So that was great. So like, I got up there to do my little bit.
Apollo?
Say it again?
Was it kind of like the Apollo? Like, did they boo or something? Like, what do you mean?
Oh yeah, it was rough. And like more than booing. Like it was funny because my bit then, I'd only been up here for 3 weeks, and the stand-up that I did was for like people in coffee shops in North Carolina and breweries. They were so laid back and everybody's like warm and drunk. And this was like a Monday night at the Sedgwick stop. I'm gonna name it. They know how they are. I didn't know that then. But then, so I get up there and I'm just like, I'm a librarian and I'm from North Carolina and I think I'm funny. And then they were just like, we're gonna hit you. And I'm like, I'm gonna hit you. That was my response. Because somebody was like, I was like, you guys know about like, irrational fears? And like, I have an irrational fear of like, like what if I stutter or do a bad job up here for my stand-up? Then is somebody gonna hit me in the face? And it's supposed to be no. But like 2 people were like, yes. And 1 person raised their hand. And I was like, instead of being like, I guess this was just a choice in the moment, more improv. But instead of being like, okay, thank you, that's my time, I was like, let's take this outside.
Let's go.
Yes, I was like, let's go, fight me. That was not a good move. But then since then, it got a lot better. And I did nicer, more welcoming, supportive open mics. And then in February of 2020, I got booked. And I did it, and then everything shut down, and I haven't done stand-up since. But I have recently, in the past like 2 months, I've been going to open mics again, and like seeing it is so intoxicating. And the open mics, the rooms are different than they were before the lockdown. They're more fun, they're kinder, and they're funnier. And I think people are just so relieved to be back that it's like such a more, stand-ups, I think, notoriously can be a little bit aggressive, like, and antisocial. But now I don't feel like that.
That's amazing. Okay, so also, this is how I always talk, but it's basically a word vomit. Also, I remember
Me too, obviously.
But you had said that you either were currently working at Second City or had been, or...
Oh, I'm actually going. I'm in their conservatory program, which is kind of like a graduate program.
Okay.
Like you either complete like improv A through E, or you complete like an actor's program there, or a writing program, and then you can apply and audition to get into the conservatory program. And then they have a couple levels, and then you audition again, which is very intimidating. But
I'm sure.
Yes. And so timing wise, I auditioned for the second round of auditions to get into the 3rd level in February of 2020. But I did get in. And so I got to take level 4. We were like half in person, half online. Level 3. And then my team, we tried to stay together because we were like the best. I mean, I can't say that now because now my team is the best. but we were awesome. It was like such talented people I was working with, and we tried to hang on, over the year and a half. But 4 of us did, and we are back in the same conservatory class together. And then now we have new friends. We have like 4 or 5 new people that we've taken conservatory 4 with. And this past Saturday was our first class in person without masks, because we're all like vaccinated. We had to, go through and show our cards and everything. And it was the best day. I think a couple of us were almost in tears. Aww. I for sure was for a second, because it's so good to be back. Oh, it's so beautiful just to see life returning, and laughter, and just seeing people's droplets just fly through the air. I missed it.
You right. Well, so basically, and this is my ignorance, so is Second City like almost like a college vibe?
It's not.
Okay.
I think it would like that sometimes. I don't know, maybe not. But
college, as far as like you're essentially like finding your way and like you're getting educated in what you want.
Yeah, that. Maybe I don't know college very well.
No, I know, but I totally know what vibe you were thinking of. I know.
Yes, it's not collegiate. I'll put it that way. It's very after class college vibe. Okay. It almost reminds me of what we do with the conservatory program. There's 6 levels, and at the at the level that we're at now, we're in level 5, and we're writing a 45 to 50-minute show. Our team is to be performed at Second City. And then at level 6, we're going to be writing a show that's going to be performed for several weeks. So what I compare it to, I feel like, is almost like a team sport more than a class sometimes. Like it's all teamwork, and it takes a lot of energy. You know, our classes are about 3 hours once a week, so it's not that long, but those 3 hours we are coming up with ideas, like insane quantities of ideas to pull, you know, the good stuff out, and we are improving and just experimenting. The things that we do in that class, I can't imagine doing ever anywhere else. It's great.
Awesome. Well, what is I swear I have an education, but I'm gonna say vibe again. What is the vibe of like being in that, like, such a historic place? Like, what is that like?
So good. It's so good. It's like, I remember the first day that I walked in, and it was actually 2018. It was almost a year before I moved there. Mm-hmm. And it was the first trip I took to Chicago. I drove from North Carolina to Chicago and to, you know, visit the Second City. And then I also went to Canada on that trip. We don't have time for that. That got ridiculous. And then shortly after, I quit drinking.
Like is it?
Oh yeah, September 7th, 2018.
You know what?
You
know what's so ironic is, like, I just cold turkey stopped as well.
Oh my God! How long has it
been? Time evades me. I guess it'll be like 5 years at the end of this year.
Oh my! 5 years?
Yeah,
Congratulations!
Thanks. I just stopped. I mean, I'm not trying to brag. It was just, I don't know what was that your experience or?
Sort of. I hit some rough points, because I was very much the person when I was drinking that would literally do anything for a laugh, and that got out of hand real fast. But for the most part, how I kind of look at it now is I can't imagine doing the things that I've done since quitting drinking while I was still drinking on a regular basis. It feels like very black and white, though. Mm-hmm. To me. It's nice.
Well, this is awesome just because, do you experience, like, what are social situations like for you? Because I feel like I think, from, if I had to say off the cuff, it makes people uncomfortable that I don't drink. Do you find that as well?
1000%. And I usually get responses. I'll be like, oh yeah, I don't drink. And they're like at all? Like at all? You don't drink? Never? Not for like birthdays or like 4th of July or something? I'm like, no. And then it's hard because I feel like people get triggered by that. Like, I feel like people get really defensive, and they're like, well, I don't drink that much. I just drink some. And I'm like, I don't care. You know, not in a mean way, but your drinking was never a problem for me. My drinking was a problem for me.
Oh, that's a good quote. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. And I'm so lucky, because both my aunts that I'm staying with right now, one of them has over 26 years of sobriety, and one of them has like over 17. And they have been so helpful, you know, when I'm feeling weak or when I'm feeling like, oh, you know, I just can't pull through. It's like they just are right there. Awesome. With quotes like that, you know, one day at a time and stuff like that, like all that. I love it.
That's awesome. Yeah, because it happens. It doesn't happen all the time, but like here recently, I'm like, maybe this will just be a forever thing where people will just, yeah, I guess it's just like a foreign concept. But I feel like if roles were reversed, if I was still drinking, I feel like I would never be like, holy shit, if someone told me that they weren't drinking. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean, and I respect that, but that was not me. I remember now, and it like haunts me to this day. I remember people being like, I'm sober, and I'd be like, oh, hi, because I was like such an obnoxious drunk that I'd just be like, what are you doing now? Just take a bunch of shots, how about? And like, looking back now, I'm like, oh my God.
Right. Well, hey, at least you own it. Like, what's your thoughts on, like, are you just like completely, if you don't mind me so asking, like, are you just completely sober, or do you do cannabis or anything like that?
Oh gosh, it's so funny. This is perfect timing, because it's like once I've smoked pot on and off for a long time now, since I moved to a state where it's legal, and then since when it became legal, I mean, and then, but no, like on and off for a long time, I've smoked pot, and recently, and I know it's been one of those things where it's like, this is probably kind of an insensitive example, but it's worked for me lately. It's felt since the quarantine, the pot smoking feels like an okay partner, or like an okay boyfriend that's just not that great though. Mm-hmm. Like, makes me feel a little bit better, but then I'm actually not getting the things done that I want to get, and I feel like I'm being held back by it all the time, and it's really helpful for me as far as anxiety and appetite, but I feel like I was using it as a crutch so much during the lockdown, but looking back now, I think I might have needed it. I mean, that might be strong words, but it was rough. Yeah. And now I'm getting away from it. Actually, today, this is funny, today is day 2 again.
What?
Of not smoking pot, which is funny that I'm even like celebrating day 2, but we gotta start somewhere, I guess.
Girl, anything anyone tries to quit, like even if it's carbs, like you celebrate each day. But yeah, I've had a weird relationship with marijuana because I've obviously I gave up drinking, but like it's harder for me to part with the plant.
Yes, me too. It's so much less intrusive, I feel like, in my life. You know, it doesn't so negatively affect anything. I think it just negatively affected things enough for me to barely notice it.
Right.
And that's what's kind of spooky. It's like those things that hold you back so nonchalantly, where you're like, you don't even know if you'd be able to get more done or be healthier or be more productive without it. And it was interesting. Yesterday was an incredible, I didn't know we would get this personal, but I'm glad. Yesterday was a really hard day, honestly. It was the first entire day, and it'd been, I'd smoked Sunday morning. Saturday, I sold I sold a bong, I sold 3 bowls, I sold a 1-hitter, I sold everything that I could smoke out of on Saturday. And then I smoked Sunday morning with a friend, and yesterday was Monday, and I ended up getting so sick. I got a migraine. I ended up throwing up a couple times, and I think it was withdrawals. And it makes sense. A lot of times when I've tried to quit smoking weed, the first day is pretty miserable because it's just heightening what it's
like. Whoa.
Yes. Like whatever I was using it for, the anxiety, the appetite is just completely, the pendulum swung the other way. And it's like, now you're super nauseous. Like it gave you an appetite, now you don't have it, and everything's gonna make you sick. And like it took your anxiety away, and now your brain's gonna be on fire for like 24 hours, but then it's gonna be better. And today is so much better. And I've actually haven't bought a pack of cigarettes in like 2.5 weeks now.
Oh wow.
Woo, so I'm just doing it. I'm like ready. This summer is it's happening, man. I'm reopening myself.
That's awesome. Well, congrats. Yeah. I think my issue with weed, well, first of all, I definitely intake, I'm ready to eat like the dining room table. So there was always an intake of excess calories when I was like, I don't know, I'm sure all of us women have weird body image dysmorphia.
Yeah, mine's rough.
Yeah, so I think that was like, why am I doing this that like makes me eat more when I already have like so many issues that are in my head? But I think another issue that I've had, I want to market like since maybe like 2015. I have no idea why that was a marker, but I think because like that was the last time Obama was in office. I don't know, but I feel like I think I kept going to when I was younger, I could smoke and like be super productive. I could go to work. Yeah. I could do all these things. And as I got older, and obviously now there's so many different strands.
Oh yeah, getting a lot stronger all the time, especially here where I would go to the dispensaries because I'm like, well, if I can get it legally, might as well get it legally.
Yeah.
Go to the dispensaries and you pay a lot of money, but it's like hybrids. It's mostly hybrids now, which are so intense. And I don't notice it, but like, somebody else might be like, Emma, you there? Like, where are you?
So interesting. Yeah, so I think I kept comparing it to like, why am I not able to like get so much stuff done as I used to be? So I've just accepted that like I'm not that age anymore. Yeah, I'm not, the plan isn't what it was. I don't know. So I'm slowly, I don't know. I ice off of it. Like I will go, like I think the longest I've been without marijuana, sorry mom and dad, but
But actually my dad's a huge pothead to this day. So,
yeah.
so you're welcome, Dad.
Dad, what up? I think it's like 4 months. So that's the longest I've been without
Yeah,
it.
that's a pretty good chunk of time though. I think mine was like a month, and that was like earlier this year, like January.
Right.
And then by like mid-February, I think I was back to it on a pretty regular basis.
Do you think like, I mean, obviously I guess since you sold all your stuff, are you really ready to like say goodbye?
Yeah, I mean, it's something. I mean, I think I can still see me smoking with friends, you know, or like a social thing, which I can't do drinking. I know that I cannot socially drink, but I can see me socially smoking. Also, my tolerance, you know, was crap. Like, you know, it would take me so much to even feel anything that I would just be like packing and packing and packing and barely feeling anything, and that was driving me crazy too. But I think I have to be done because it's come up now. But the body image stuff and the eating stuff, I was really using it to eat, and just ignoring that I wouldn't eat if I didn't have it. And that's any time that I've quit it. I have such a hard time eating, and I have such like nausea and stuff that that for the first like couple weeks, it's like I'm force feeding myself. Actually, at work today, somebody was like, "Why are you drinking Ensure?" And I was like,
Right.
I was like, cause I'm an old man, you see? Right. I don't know what to say, but.
No, I get that. So like, and again, I go down all these like rabbit holes, but so when you say like nauseous and like not eating, just like you always have had like gastrointestinal issues or?
Oh yeah, bro, let's get into it. Because I mean, I think this is an important story, and I've honestly just been open about it this year. But so especially being in the acting world now, I think the last few years it's been a little heightened because of that, because there's so much stigma around, you know, overweight actresses. It's disgusting, and I hate that I'm even like falling into that bias trap or whatever. But, you know, subconsciously it's definitely there, of like, you know, tied to my worth and tied to, you know, just all kinds of things that it has no business being tied to my weight. But when I was maybe, you know, 15 or something, I was bulimic for a while, and it caused like lifelong gastrointestinal reflux. So now I still have that, and that takes away a little bit of the appetite, and it happens quite a few times a day now. And then also kind of the same body issues. It's after the bulimia subsided, like after I was like, well, I can't, this is very obviously not helping. Because one, I wasn't losing any weight, because people don't know that about bulimia, is that your body goes into a little bit of a shock when you're doing that on a regular basis, and it holds on to every calorie and everything that it possibly can, because it's trying to, you know, save you from you. And then, so after a while I was like, I don't want to throw up. And then I was like, well, I got my bachelor's in psychology, and I feel like I just used everything against myself that I learned. It was terrible. I was like, oh my God, you can create associations so that you are disgusted with food and eating. And so I did that, you know, consciously and subconsciously, kind of a mix over like a couple of years, to the point of where it worked. Like I would get nauseous when I'd go to eat anything. And I was raised very, very vegan. And so like I was raised with a lot of like, sugar is the devil, you know, baby cows are weeping because they're being ripped from their mothers every day. And like, so like all of this very traumatic, like food related stuff. And then also being homeschooled, I didn't eat with other people as a child.
Right.
We're getting into this. I feel like you're on my therapist right now, and I love it.
Well, I appreciate you like feeling comfortable and, yeah, just sometimes a lot of these interviews that I had, or just even conversations with anybody, I don't know, it just goes into this like other thing. So that's why I try not to have like robotic questions. But yeah, it's interesting. And I feel like me doing this show too, yeah, it's made me, I feel like for so long, and this might sound silly, that I felt like I was the only one who had these like crazy body image issues that would like make or break my day.
Yes. Oh man, it's so wild. And I for so long, for 10 years, I was so quiet and silent about it. And now this past year, I'm like opening my eyes and I'm like, oh wow, this is like a very common issue that a lot of us are suffering in silence about, because it's so silly now. But what I believed for so long is that if anybody found out that I had an eating disorder, which is of course not what I called it until this year, I'd just be like, no, I just don't eat. And if I eat too much, then I throw up. And if I, it's like, no, that's not an eating disorder.
Right.
Because I have weed. And so what I believed is that if anybody knew that I had an eating disorder, that they would either say or think, well, then why isn't she thin? And that's like what kept me from saying anything, which is
Interesting.
horrifying. Like even the idea of it is like, oh, it's so rough. And it's like, I have to say though, you are a very calming presence. I want to tell you my whole life. I love this show.
No, I appreciate that. Well, I just think that like once you can like connect, I mean, obviously different experiences, but same kind of things of like, I mean, just even in the last month, I'm like, I cannot weigh myself anymore. So
Oh yeah, my God. I weighed myself Sunday morning and it was 150. Spoiler alert. I don't know what that means. But I weighed myself on Sunday morning and it was 150 and it was I'd smoked that morning and I ate breakfast and stuff. I weighed myself this morning and it was I weighed myself, I'm so sorry, this is silly. Weighed myself yesterday morning and it was 150. And then I weighed myself this morning, it was 144. From the very rough day I had yesterday. But it was a good reminder. I'm like, this is pointless. It really is. I mean, your weight the number on the scale doesn't have any like true predictor. It isn't a true predictor of your health, and the health is what's important. And even as I'm getting older, I'm attracted to a healthy body. Like I'm realizing that. Like I'm pansexual, which is like whatever or whatever. I still don't know how to describe it, but
it's interesting. So I had a friend from college like educate me on that word, and
yes,
my understanding is like you're essentially like and tell me if I'm wrong, attracted to someone's mind.
Oh my God, I haven't heard it put that way, but absolutely. I mean, I am also attracted to people's bodies, many people's bodies, but yes, their mind is in their body. Yes, that's a great way of putting it. I don't never know how to put it. I'm just like, who's a what's it, anybody will do.
I love that.
Yes, I totally agree with that. Definitely. I feel like people who are clever and are good critical thinkers and are interesting and outside the box, that gets my motor revving.
I dig it.
Yeah.
I dig it. Well, very interesting. Like I said, I appreciate you like sharing all that, because I'm sure, there's so many people that struggle with all different types of eating or issues or drinking issues. I think that like my issue with like body image stuff was like, I felt like I was neither anorexic or bulimic. So I was like in this, I was like, oh, I don't have either or.
Yeah.
Like something is fucked up.
Right. It's like this, I would love for this to be a conversation, in the mainstream, because there are terms out there and I have just started learning them, and they've been out there, but not accessible, not popularized in a way that's helpful to the general public. And actually this is my partner, I have a podcast as well.
Yes, I haven't even gotten to that.
No worries at all. No worries at all. We actually did a Screw Up the Diet episode, and that was like kind of the first time that I was open about the bulimia, the eating disorder, the using weed, to help and everything. And it's funny because that was in like January or something, and I've just now am trying to quit again, and it's fine. It's gonna be fine. I got a lot of support.
It's a process. I feel like half the battle with anything is just like acknowledging and talking about it.
Yes. And there's such a big difference. I mean, such a wide range between like realization of an issue and actual behavior change. Yeah. So there's that. But we did that episode, Screw Up the Diet. And each week, we talk about screwing something up or having something screwed up in our lives and like what we learned from it and stuff like that. So I think we've been picking topics that we maybe feel shame about, I think, a lot of times. And by the end of the episode, when we've like discussed it in like an open, honest, like vulnerable way with each other, because he's a wonderful podcasting partner too. I love him. CJ Darneater. So it's been so helpful. These conversations, I think, are the most helpful to me. The cognitive behavioral therapy, the talk therapy, which I don't believe is just in a psychiatrist's office. I think it happens with even people that don't know each other that well. Like, we just met that night and we hit it off, and here we are, and now you know more about me than many people, and I love it. Thank you.
No, like I said, I really appreciate it, and also too, just selfishly, me, it again is like another person that doesn't make me feel like alone, that like,
yes.
Everyone struggles. And I think, I don't even know, or just even as young age, I think, just not to say that men don't have these issues, but I just think it's a different level for females. And just even subconsciously, like checking out at the food market and seeing these like crazy edited pictures on the magazine rack, and
Right. Oh my goodness. I don't even think over the last couple years, I've just kind of been taking deeper and deeper dives into feminism, and I'm soaking it up. I love it. It makes so much sense. The education that I didn't get about women's rights, I think, is fascinating, that I wouldn't have gotten probably in public school either. I mean, potentially. It's really
I didn't. I feel like each day I'm re-educating myself on like what, like everything was like framed as a kid. But so feminism, I feel like I still hear sound bites or people that like don't get it or have these like weird connotations of it. First of all, like, what is feminism to you?
Oh gosh, feminism to me, I guess, I mean, it's a lot about equality for me. I mean, of course, I'm not here to say that I don't have like sexist bias, because I definitely do. And then, and I'm working on it. And then also, I think men have been terribly damaged by the patriarchy. Like, I don't think to the extent that women have been, but seriously damaged. And so I feel like, as a feminist myself, I feel like my goal is to level the playing field, just make it more fair for men and women to be who they're going to be, whether that's hyper feminine or hyper masculine. It's kind of interesting because my partner right now is a man. He identifies as a man, but he might listen to this and it's going to be funny, but he's feminine. He's a feminine guy. He works at this gorgeous salon in downtown Chicago, and like, he likes fancy things and he dresses well. It's like kind of, it's so funny too, because I'm hearing myself where I also connect like clean with women. There's also some more of the sexism coming out. But then I fall, I think, on a very masculine end of the scale. I think we almost meet right in the middle, and we joke about that a lot. Yeah, so it's interesting, and I think that's a huge part of it. It's just letting people decide how they want to be without other people making all of these assumptions or trying to put them in some sort of a box. So I feel like, I don't want to go too far here, but over the past like year, I've kind of had a lot of revelations about marriage. I don't know if you're married. And I don't, you know.
Girl, I am a nun. I don't even got my nails done. I don't got no. No, I'm a nun currently.
Nice. You're what?
I'm a nun currently.
Nice. Married to the Lord. Oh
Yeah.
my God. That's great. Yes. Yeah. No, Jesus. But these fingers are for me only. Just kidding. But yeah, so I started like taking a deep dive into the whole marriage thing, and it was so fascinating. And not to like there are so many people that I know that are married and deeply in love, and they have a beautiful partnership, you know, whether that's you know, homosexual, heterosexual, whatever. But love has only been associated with marriage for about 50 years. And if you go back farther than that, it's just a property exchange of women. You know, it's like, I'll give you a sheep for this woman. And then I've brought that up to people, and they were like, why would you think that? And I'm like, maybe it's the part during every wedding I've been to where they say, who gives this woman to this man? I was like, maybe that's kind of tipped me off at some point. So I'm getting a little heated.
No,
But yeah, so it's been interesting. And I always I grew up, you know, like planning my wedding 1 million different ways. And then in the last couple of years, I've been so kind of turned off by it just because of its historical, you know, if you look at it in a historical context, it's kind of oogie or whatever.
No, I feel you. I feel you. I just feel like, well, yeah, I mean, that's a fact right there. Hashtag facts. But I think my thing that like I have, and this is again, I'm like just a creature, and I just analyze everything.
I love it. Yes.
I think what I have noticed is a lot of people, and even like in the celebrity world, you know, like they are planning for the wedding. They are planning for this huge party, and like not really thinking of like this is for
entire lives.
Yeah.
That's a lot, especially in this day and age when you have access to more people than you would ever have access to before. I mean, that's a huge commitment. And it's interesting. My parents divorced when I was about 5, maybe, and, you know, separated when I was like 3 and divorced when I was 5. But something my dad always said to me, and it's always stuck with me, and I think it's like it's come to it's gotten new life in the past couple of years. But he used to say that a marriage didn't keep us together and a divorce isn't going to keep us apart. And I was like, there you go. It's a piece of paper to me, you know, and it is kind of, it's a contract for the government or for the Lord or something. And I'm like, well, I'm not a huge fan of the government or the Lord. So I'm just going to, or men.
Very interesting. Yeah, no, I dig that. I guess I learned something new I didn't know. I guess I've never just looked at it as, like a property exchange and historically like what that means, you know?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I think all of like the social rights issues that have been that have risen up in the last like year and a half have gotten me so much better educated. Like, thank God. I'm so glad that all of this happened. I feel like I mean, that's selfish probably, but I mean, I'm happy to be more educated than I was. I'm so happy that so many issues have gotten brought up, and feminism has been a huge one for me this past year and a half, and women's rights.
Why do you think though that it still has this like weird bad connotation?
Oh my goodness, I don't know. It was interesting because sometimes I feel like in Chicago, in such a big city with so much diversity and so much open-mindedness and modern thinking, I feel like I get fooled into thinking that it's not here so much. But actually just a couple weeks ago, or last week, I was on set with somebody and we were getting along so well. I've been doing a lot of like extra work this past couple months again, thank goodness. And just love being on set in any way, shape, or form, especially if I'm getting paid. And so the extra work has been perfect for that, on like shows and stuff. And
right. Oh my
so
God.
I love it. And so I was partnered with this other woman, and we really hit it off. She was great. She was really fun, and I don't have anything negative to say about her, except there was a comment made, and it reminded me so much of comments in and around Salisbury, in small rural areas. She said, and I'm not a feminist or anything,
Right. That is something I
I
have.
was like, what? Why would you say it like that? And I think I used to say that, like, I mean, it would have been like 5 or 6 years ago, but when I heard that, it was so like jarring. I was like, have I said stuff like that before? Because I did used to have like a misunderstanding of feminism where I thought that it was like elevate women, girl power, women are better than men. And now I'm like, women are people, men are people. People who don't identify as men or women, they're still people. Like, we're all just people. Like, can we stop, putting everyone in these boxes and trying to make assumptions about them? And I knew people. I had friends that were Trump supporters, that were, anti-feminists, and now I can't imagine.
Right.
I don't know. And I don't mean to be like, cut all your friends off that don't believe what you believe, because I don't believe that, but it's also really difficult to maintain relationships with people that you believe don't care about other people. And that's what it came down to for me. I'm like, dude, even if you treat me really well, if you treat other people badly around me, I'm so turned off. I don't want anything to do with you.
Right. Right. No, amen. Yeah. I guess maybe that's the quote. Like, I'm not a feminist or anything. And I'm like, I guess then it's like, what do you think that means?
Exactly. What do you, and also, what are you afraid of somebody else thinking that you are because you're a feminist, kind of thing? Like, what is it that you have to phrase it that way, like, to be sure that, like, I don't want to come off as a feminist? I think I think myself, I'm still sexist in very old-fashioned ways. I think that I got from being raised in, the 90s and before. It was just very blatantly like, men are better than women. And we don't talk about that now in that way, but that's what everything was saying. I mean, that's still, actually, I snapped at my nephew like 2 months ago, and he's like 9, and I felt so bad because I'm like, you don't understand that the patriarchy is behind this. I didn't mean to like target you.
Right.
But he goes, but he called my brother a girl or something like that, and he's like, oh, you're just a girl or something like that. And I go, what's wrong with that? And I was just like, and I think I scared him, but I was like,
no,
that's
I get
frustrating. I mean, it's like, you throw like a girl, you don't want to be girly, that's the worst thing in the world. And then also what women are. Actually, it's been tough, man. It's like what people imagine women should be. I wear a lot of men's clothes. I haven't done drag king stuff specifically, but it's right around the corner.
Yeah, go
any day now. I don't shave my legs. It's been about a year now.
How long has it been?
August.
What?
Maybe July, maybe. So it's been almost a year. I don't shave my armpits. I don't shave my legs. I don't shave nothing.
Get it, girl.
Yeah. It feels great. I feel so natural, and I feel clean.
Is it just like, I guess, is freeing the word, or how would you describe that?
Freeing is 1000% the word that I would use, because it's like the time, the energy, the tiny nicks and cuts, the money spent on razors and gel and lotions and stuff. And then also the breeze flowing through my long, luscious leg hairs I love it so much. And I wondered, I'm like redheaded from always, and I'm red-legged. And I didn't know that until now, because it's like almost as a preteen, it's like as soon as you grow any body hair as a girl, it's like, oh, get rid of it. It's unnatural, which is also kind of disgusting in a way, because it's like, let's look like babies. Let's look like little girls and little children. That's kind of gross. A woman that has hair, and it creeps me out sometimes when I think about it. I'm like, we don't. And people say it's a cleanliness thing, and I'm like, dude, just clean it. just clean it all.
Let's use some soap. Okay, so like I said, I stalked you, and I saw that you were in the trial of the Chicago 7.
Oh, yes.
So loved that fucking movie.
Yes.
Very powerful. I feel like it was like just very powerful. I loved it. It was like one of my favorite ones I've watched in the last few years. And so what was that experience like?
Oh my God. That was like, that was such a crazy time. I don't even know if I ended up in it. You know, like I might be a blur of red or something in the background, but it was
You were
so
still
worth
in
it.
it. You were still
Oh,
in it.
yeah. It was such a fun experience. It felt like we were all there because in reality, you're with like 500 other people and you are dressed like a hippie and you're dressed in the era, everyone else is dressed in the era. We're in the exact same place that it actually took place in the 1970s, which is so bizarre. And I got to fight a cop. We had to charge the hill and like, so they had all these smoke bombs going off. Like they had tons of smoke machines. The director was there and it was so cool to be able to like work like around him and even just hear his voice and stuff. And like I just remember like all the smoke bombs going off and we basically had to run blind, like straight up a hill as like these cop extras and cop actors are running down at us. And there was a lot of slips and falls. There was a lot of tumbles and craziness, but it was so much fun. And, you know, we do that over and over because a lot of these, you know, you just do the same thing over and over and over. And I remember those days, it was 2 days that we were on set and they were 14-hour days. And and it was supposed to be summer of like 1969 or 1970. And we filmed it in November in Chicago. And so they would call jackets off and we would have to take everything off, like except for our like summer 70s flower child clothes and then pretend that it wasn't 24 degrees. Like I remember that is a very guttural experience.
I'm sure.
But that kind of added to like the fun of it, especially now that it's over. It was like that was such a crazy thing. They'd be like, jackets off, and we'd all be like, God damn it. We'd like shed and then try not to like shake violently. A lot of us would be like dancing. Like I'd always do that, like just to stay warm on sets where it had to be summer. Or like we also filmed a show that was set in California in November. And I was like, this is not California in November. This is Chicago in November. And then also that was the first set that I got to get blood on my face, which is the best because you get a bump for it. You get like an extra $15. And they were like, does anyone want blood on their face? And I'm like, yes, I do.
So what happens? Does someone just come, like a makeup artist come and get you, or do they just like spray you, or what happens?
Oh, it was fun because the makeup artist was such a huge set. That was the biggest set I'd ever been on, like the most extras. And so it was so funny because we're walking to the hill from the Drake Hotel downtown, and it's like hundreds of us. What are people thinking every time? And we're all dressed like we're in the 70s, so it's so funny. And some of us are walking back like with blood on our faces.
Can you imagine if you're like tripping LSD or something, and you like look out your window and you're like,
oh my God, I'd be jumping out that window for sure. Oh my God. And like, and then like later scenes where they like paired me with, I think it was like 2 different cops at 2 different times where I would like be with them and we would like laugh and joke and stuff. And one of them was a cop in real life. And so he would like keep an eye out for these types of roles. And he'd be like, I just take the day off and I go pretend to be a cop. And it was really fun. And so, and I got to fake fight him, which was fun.
oh, that's awesome. No, I don't know. Now I'm going to go back and look for you.
Oh God, good luck. This sounds sad, but I kind of quit looking for me in extra stuff because like the first like 6 times that I did it, I'd be like, where am I? And now I'm like, this is a great day and I'm getting paid for it and I'm on set and I get to work with famous people. And it's like I can't, there's 2 very big names that I would love to drop right now, but I can't because it's not out, but that I've been working with the past couple weeks. But I worked on Empire and Chicago Fire and Chicago Med and Next. And so, you know, Terrence Howard and like all these big names and stuff like that. It's so interesting to see people behind the scenes. Some of them are very different.
Oh, I'm sure. Do you mean like they physically look different, or they just like straight up rude, or all the above, or?
Yeah, somewhat. Some people are like super nice and funny, like that you wouldn't even think, and you'd be like, oh, I'm not supposed to look at you, but you're so cute and funny. And like Terrence Howard, I'm going to throw him under the bus here because I heard some stories on set, and then while I was on set that day, he did like throw some things and yell at some people. which I don't know if I can get sued for saying that. I know a lot worse about you, Terrence Howard, and I'll tell him that too. And yep, I got your business that day. But I am going to be honest, in real life, he does look really good still. He's got that thing, he's got that thing even in real life, like his eyes. I like almost ran smack into him in a scene, and I was like, I'm sorry. And he was like, oh, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, it's those eyes for sure.
Oh, I know. I was like, I don't even care. I'm like, hit me, T. Howie. No, that might be too far. Anyway,
I love that. Well, congrats to you for all you've done. Very cool.
Thank you. It's been wonderful. I feel like I'm at the bottom, but I'm enjoying it so much that I'm not even. I'm like, I'm just gonna let it happen how it happens. Like, I don't have any doubt that I'll be successful as an actor and a performer. And that's kind of bizarre to say. And having said that, I don't think fame has anything to do with it anymore for me. Like, I don't see myself as being famous as being successful. I see myself as being, able to support myself, being comfortable and loving what I'm doing, and meeting, being able to be around these other talented people, meeting, having these connections. I think that's like successful, and I can definitely see that happening. I feel like it already is in a lot of ways. So, woohoo!
Very cool. Yeah, becoming successful in your own way doesn't mean like the fame connotation. I feel like if that's the goal, then like you're missing like the whole meat and potatoes of like whatever you're doing.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. And I'm going to pull it way back here because I just realized I didn't really answer one question that just popped up into my head again about the Second City and about like walking into it. Oh my God, that place. It's in Piper's Alley, which is like kind of a corner of a larger building that's got some other stuff in it, like a cell phone store, a Starbucks, like a Chipotle. This is random stuff. But then Second City itself is the most bizarre building I've been in. Like, you walk in and
Right, I'm gonna grab my power cord.
Yes.
So sorry, I'm ready.
No, you're good. So you walk in, and the first floor, the walls are covered in massive caricatures, like bigger than a person, of some of the most famous alumni, like Tina Fey and, Colbert, and like all the people that we know and love, and Chris Farley. And then you go up an escalator, and you have a bar, which is called, I want to say 1959, and I feel bad if I'm wrong about that because it's the year that Second City started.
Okay.
There's like a bar, which I feel better not knowing that, actually, because I'm sober. Woohoo. And then there's a big theater there, and there's I don't even know why I'm trying right now. This is the strangest building in the world. It's basically 4 stories, but there's like 3 escalators, and there's weird staircases, and none of the escalators and the stairs are in the same place in any level of it. It's so confusing, but I love that place. And then when you get on the second floor, it's got a really cool, big, massive windows on the corner, and lots of, comfortable seating and nice tables and stuff, where you can work and everything. And there's like a banner that goes around the top, like near the ceiling on the wall. And it's just hundreds of alumni that are so, you look at this banner and you're just like blown away, because you don't realize how many of like our most beloved comedians went to the Second City and went through the programs and like added to the Second City and got things from the Second City. And we just started Conservatory 5. Our first class was Saturday, and our teacher is Ross Taylor, and he's so cool already. And like, some of my teachers throughout the programs that I've been in have been the funniest people I've ever met, which is really comforting. And 2 of them that I think of are incredible, like, feminist representatives, and have also like educated the class, subvertively. That might not be a word, but like under the cuff, like they're also like
slipping
letting in their points of view, which is great.
That's awesome. Now, do you feel like in this, you might be like, what the fuck? But I love asking people about ghosts and stuff. Do you feel like is there like a ghost story or something like really creepy that you experienced that you can share?
At Second City or just in general?
Or second, I mean, sure, if there's a second, anything that like was like significantly WTF.
Oh, I love this. That's right. Ooh, let's see. Oh man. Okay. This is going to be an interesting story, and it's probably more like psychological than it is like spiritual, but I do believe in, spirits, and more so I believe in what little I know. I have a strong belief.
Don't we all? Yeah.
Yes. And so who knows what's out there. But the night that I quit drinking, and I don't think I've talked about this openly really much at all because it was such a weird night. I'd only had 2 glasses of wine that night. And I had worked all day. I had a meeting that went so badly with the director of the library and the assistant director. I just sat quietly while they said while the director said some really off-putting things. What he was basically saying was that I needed to be a bitch. I was a branch manager then at the library, and my staff was always pretty happy, but maybe we weren't getting things done fast enough, which I didn't really feel like. But I think what would happen is if things didn't get done fast enough, I would do them, because I'm trying to get away from that a little bit, be more collaborative. But they noticed that, and so they were like, you need to be a bitch at work, and if we have to put a pin on you to wear that says bitch, then we will. And this was the most sexist thing I think I had really experienced myself, because if there was a male, librarian, which there's not many of, which is funny because 60% of library directors are men, 80% of all library staff are women, which is pretty disgusting. I don't know if that's true now. This was like almost 10 years ago when I was in library science school, because I did a paper about it. So yeah, maybe I have been a feminist for a while and I just didn't know until like 5 years ago. I'm realizing that now. Okay, good. And so what terrible, experience there. And I just kind of kept my mouth shut. And as he just like vomited out some of the worst things I've ever heard from the top of our library system, he was like, I know I'm not supposed to say this, which you love to hear from anyone, especially your boss.
Right. Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, I know I'm not supposed to say this, but have you ever tried Prozac? Because I think my friends and family couldn't stand me if I wasn't on Prozac. And I'm like, guess what? They can't stand you. You're going to have to double your dose because everyone hates you. The only people that are nice to you work for you, literally.
Right.
So if you're hearing this, I still hate you. I hope you're enjoying retirement. I feel bad for your wife. Anyway, so I'm gonna keep layering it on. But also thank you, because I quit drinking after that night. So I had this crazy meeting, and then afterward I went to and then I had a stand-up show. I went straight from work to do a stand-up set. It was a great set. It was a great group too. And it was oh my gosh. It was the Eyes Up Here all women comedy tour.
Oh wow.
This is so connected. I didn't even realize until I'm saying it out loud. See, we should have more conversations, ladies.
Yeah.
Anyway. And so it was it was promoting female stand-up comedians was the whole point. All the performers were identified as women. And then and throughout the show, you get free drinks, which is great. Being a stand-up, now I get Coca-Cola. Now I get free Coca-Cola. But I only had 2 glasses of wine, and I drove home, and I got home, and I lived by myself then in my apartment, and it's still kind of hard to describe. And I do think it was I think it was a mix. I think it was a mix of psychological and spiritual and maybe demonic. I don't know, but it was almost like my drinking had manifested itself outside of my body. And it was the most terrifying night of my life, by far, any night. And what happened is I kept seeing something in any reflection that I would look in. that was, it's so weird because I haven't told anyone this. This is great. And I kept seeing this reflection of this terrifying figure, like this dark, terrifying figure that definitely wanted to kill me, like was out to torture me. And like, that was its goal. And it was like outside my body and I could see it with my eyes and I couldn't stop seeing it. And so what I did was I took blankets and towels and anything I had, and I hung it up over every reflective surface, over all the windows, over all the mirrors, over anything that would have a reflection. And then I put my quilt over my desk and went under my desk and hid until 7 a.m, like until it was daytime again. And then I came out and I was like, well, I can't drink again. And I haven't since. And it was almost like looking at and is another big aspect of me getting sober. My father to this day is an alcoholic, and he drinks about a half a gallon to a gallon of vodka a week, and it's killing him. And it's so hard at the point that he's at, because it's been, 25 years that he's been this way. And it's just, it was almost like I saw what was attacking him, what's been attacking him for 25 years. And it was with me, and it was like I had to get rid of it. And I feel like it's gone now. And now I almost have this completely opposite spiritual entity that I call Maya. Maya higher power. And she's a woman. Because I'm like, yes. Oh,
well,
no offense to the nunnery. But
thank you so much for sharing that. I don't know how this comes across, but I think that that's kind of awesome that, well, no matter how people do it or why people do it, to like quit a substance, like no matter what it is like hard shit. So like props to you.
Oh man, that was a wild way to do it. I'm like shaking now because I really haven't told anyone that story. That's so wild.
I hope it's like free. Again, I keep saying freeing. I hope that it's freeing to do that.
That's right. And honestly, this is great timing, because this is really like rehashing that story is going to help me so much with getting away from weed and getting away from cigarettes and just like focusing on like a healthier body, because I'm very psychologically inclined. I love psychology, and I love, learning about my own psychology and other people's psychology, especially behavioral psychology, why people do what they do. And this is a great reminder that my mind's only going to be that healthy if my body's not healthy. And I have to make sure that I keep my body healthy. I have to keep it fed and watered and stuff.
Ditto. This is awesome. Like, I didn't know, like, yeah, who knew that we had all this like random stuff in common, right?
Oh my God, I know. This is great.
Okay, so final fun question. I always like to end on like pop culture shit. So did you have like anyone growing up, like whether it was like a musician or actor or even later in life, that like you just think the world of?
Oh, well, definitely Blue October. 2020 was the first year in over a decade that I didn't see them live. And I'm not really a big concert goer. Mm-hmm. Like I think it's mainly a social anxiety thing why I don't go to a lot of concerts, because I'm like, it's big crowds and stuff. It has to be worth it for me to be in like a big tight crowd. But I go see them. I go see them a million times, and I just try to catch their sweat from the audience and wait for them afterwards for them to sign stuff. And it was actually really interesting. The year, it might have been the year that I quit drinking, or maybe it was the year before. He, the lead singer that writes the songs, Justin Furstenfeld, and he had gotten sober a few years before I did. And he was like doing great. And at this specific concert that I'm thinking of. And it was the first time that I like spoke to him, because before that I would get so sick even looking at him, if there was like, I was that nervous, like that fangirl nervous. And so I met him, and I was like, Justin, congratulations on your wife. Congratulations on your new wife, Sarah, and your son Gunnar. He's so handsome, and I'm so happy for you. And then I was like, I've been going to see you every year since I was 17, and I just love you guys. And I love Ryan, and I love Jeremy, and it was so ridiculous. And I started to walk away, and he was like, well, come give me a hug. Oh. And I was like, I might throw up. And he goes, well, don't throw up. I'm wearing a white shirt. And so he comes back. And like I give him a hug, and I'm like almost in tears. It was such a ridiculous experience. And then it was so funny. And then I'm walking back to the car, like knowing that he's sober and that like a lot of his songs are about recovery now, and like they're so good. And then I do a bunch of cocaine, and then I drive my sister home. And I still think about that. I'm like, oh shit. I was like, congratulations on your beautiful life because of sobriety. It was a rough time. And my sister-in-law had no idea before that was something that I did. And I still think about that night all the time, like from her perspective of right. Like how insane that must have been for her to be like, oh my God, we just met like our hero. Wow, you're doing what? And now you're going to drive us home? And I even told her, I was like, don't you say a word. Don't you say a word about what just happened. I will kill us both. I will crash this car. That's all I wanted. My life, I don't need anything else in life. So just don't say anything. And then we got home. I dropped her off. And then I called her on the way home to my apartment, which was like a block away. And I was like, did he say I smelled good? And she goes, yes, he did. And I was like, thank you. Good night. So that was crazy. And now I'm sober. I feel like that's how all my stories end.
That's amazing. That's a fun note to end on.
Oh, yeah. Woo!
So where...
cocaine. Woo! It's all natural.
So where can people find all that you're doing to show you on the internet?
On Spotify and Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts, Anchor, Breaker, Castbox. I'm getting used to doing this finally. It takes every week. It's terrible. But you can find us on Instagram also, Screw Up the Podcast, on Twitter, Screw Up the Pod, and we have a YouTube channel where we do like behind the scenes or little clips of our silly, recordings and stuff like that. On Screw Up the Pod. Excuse me, what good podcasting material that was. A burp. Just screw up the podcast, man. Come screw it up with us. Also, one of my favorite things is sometimes, and I'm hoping this catches on more, people will write in at screwupthepodcast@gmail.com things that they've screwed up. And it can either be anonymous or you can tell us who you are and then ask us for it to be anonymous, and then we read it on the show. And like something that you've messed up, a mistake, and what you've learned from it and stuff like that. We love to like read people's stories too. Like we want it to be more of a collaborative effort. We love it. So that's a fun part too. So I'd love to hear especially your listeners. If you're listening to the Katie Black podcast, then I want you writing in to me, and I want to know you.
Yes.
That's all.
Yes. Well, Emma, thank you so much. Like I said, I've really enjoyed this conversation.
This is awesome. Thank you. Me too. Like, this is so bizarre that we don't know each other, and this has just been so wonderful. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Katie Black. You're amazing. Thank you, love.
I love your energy.
Yes, great energy.
I love it.
What up?